Hello, guys, and welcome. This will be a review for the first unit of the course for the final exam. I really want to emphasize that the final exam will be 4 pages long. It will have 1 page per unit, and I am only going to review the stuff that could potentially be on the final exam. In Unit 1, we did voting. And we saw some ranked choice voting where you rank candidates in order to choose. And we also saw some weighted voting systems where people's votes count for different amounts. There will be no weighted voting systems on the final exam. The only things that could be in the final exam are what could be, we'll talk about in this video. So one of the first things that we did is we learned what a majority is, and a majority is more than half of the votes. And when we're talking about ranked choice voting, everyone votes for everyone. Like every single voter will vote for every single candidate. So what we mean by more than half of the votes is more than half of the first place votes. So the first place in particular is what we're concerned with. So majority means more than half. So for instance, if there were 16 total votes, that would mean that half of 16 would be 8. So then a majority is 9 votes. Whereas for 25, half of 25 is going to be 12.5. So then that means that a majority is going to be 13 votes. So you'd need 13 votes to be a majority of 25, and you'd need 9 votes to be a majority of 16. So once everyone has voted, you can tabulate the results. And this table is the usual way that we have of talking about what this table is the usual way that we tabulate all these results. So for instance, when we look at the columns, there were 5 people. So these are 5 voters. And they voted A, the best, and C, the worst, with B somewhere in between them. And then we can see that in total, there's 5, 9, 15, 20 voters. And that means that a majority, if someone were to get a majority, that would have to be 11 votes. So since we have this, we can calculate who wins the election in a number of different ways. So for instance, the very first method that we learned, and I try to do these in the same order every time, is a plurality method. Plurality method is whomever has the most first place votes wins. So whoever has the most first place votes wins. And then we can come back up to our preference schedule, our preference table, and we can look to see who has the most first place votes. So candidate A has 5 first place votes. Candidate B has 4 first place votes here and another 2 first place votes there. So B has 6 first place votes. And C, on the other hand, has 6 first place votes in this column and 3 first place votes in this column. So that's 9. So C will win the plurality vote with the most first place votes. Next up, we saw plurality with elimination. And again, plurality, typically referring to who has the most first place votes. But in this method, we are looking for a majority. So step 1 is check for a majority. If someone has a majority, they simply win. They win right then and there. In this election, we saw that C had the most first place votes, but they only had 9 and they did not have a majority. So they would not win. The second step is to eliminate the second part of this, to eliminate a candidate. So we eliminate the candidate oops. With the fewest first place votes. So in this particular election, we can go through and we can see that C has the most first place votes with 9, but no one has a majority. So no one wins. What we can do instead is we go in and we eliminate the candidate with the fewest first place votes. The candidate with the fewest first place votes would be A. So we will end up eliminating A from the election. And we go and we look to see who's left over. So as we look at this, we go, okay, if A is eliminated, that means that the 5 people who voted A, then B, then C, their next best candidate is B. Whereas, say, like over here, they liked B best, and then C, and then A was their last place candidate. So it doesn't really bother them that A is out. So then what we'll do is we'll add up all of the first place votes again, remembering that after we eliminate A, those 5 people actually like B the best. So those 5 people now like B the best after A is out. Those 4 people like B the best, and those 2 people like B the best, which adds up to 11. C still has 6 first place votes and 3 first place votes. So after eliminating A, B has a majority. So B would win this election, but only after A is eliminated. So those are the first 2 methods of voting. And then we have board account. And board account is a lot like, say, like Mario Kart, track and field, things like this, where you earn points based on what position you come in. So for voting, a last place vote is just 1 point. And then it goes up by 1 every time until you get to the first place vote. Is equal to how many candidates there are, number of candidates, writing off the edge of the page. And then everywhere in between is worth a different amount. So let's go through this calculation in this case. So let's first look at A, and I will erase my slashes here to make it a bit easier to read. So if we look at A first, A has 5 first place votes. A has 8 second place votes and 7 last place votes. So if A has 5 first place votes, and every first place vote is worth the same number of points as the number of candidates. So there are 3 candidates here. A had, if I can remember, 8 second place votes and 7 last place votes. So another 8 second place votes, each one worth 2 points, and then 7 last place vote, each one worth 1 point. So that's 15 and 16 is 31, plus another 7 is 38 points for A. B, on the other hand, I think we'll have slightly more. So B has 6 first place votes, 8 second place votes, and 6 last place votes. So 8, 8, and 6. Sorry, 6, 8, and 6. With 6 first place votes, each one worth 3 points. With 8 second place votes, each one worth 2 points. And 6 last place votes, each one worth 1 point. We can total this up. See that B had 18 and 16 is 34, plus another 6 is 40 points. And then C has 9 first place votes, only 4 second place votes, and 7. So 9, 4, and 7. So with 9 first place votes, each one worth 3 points. With 4 second place votes, each one worth 2 points. And 7 last place votes, each one worth 1. We can add this up. This is 27, plus another 8 is 35, plus another 7 is 42. So we take how many, each vote is worth a certain number of points. So we just count how many votes did they get in each place times the correct number of points. And we see that C will win the election with the most points. The last, and I think probably the one that you guys have had the most trouble with, is pairwise comparisons. And with pairwise comparisons, what we do is we compare pairs of candidates to see who is preferred. When one candidate is preferred, they'll win a point. And when the candidates are preferred equally, as in there's an equal number of people that like one better than the other, they will both get a half a point. So in this case, we have 3 candidates. We have A, B, and C. So we will need to compare A versus B. We'll need to compare A versus C, and we'll need to compare, B versus C. So these are all 3 pairs of candidates. So when there's 3 candidates, we'll have to make 3 comparisons. When there are 4 candidates, we'll need to make 6 pairs. So just as a heads up, when there's 4 candidates, A, B, C, and D, there'll actually be 6 different pairs of candidates. You need to compare D to each one of these. So let's come up here and look at A versus B. When we look at A versus B, we have to take into account, is B liked better than A, or is A liked better than B? So for instance, in this first column, A is liked better than B. So there's 5 people who prefer candidate A. In this column, these people rank B higher than A. Here, people like A better than B. So the 5 people in the first column and the 6 people in the third column like A better. The rest of the columns, B is ranked higher. So when we come down here, there were 5 people in that first column, 6 people in that middle column that liked A better. Everyone else liked B better. So that means 11 people like A better and only 9 people like B better, which means that A is going to win a point because A is the preferred candidate. More people like A better than B. If we come over to A versus C, so for instance, if we look at A is ranked higher in the first column, and A is ranked higher in this column. So those 5 people like A better, those 2 people like A better, everyone else has C higher. So we have 5 and 2, but everyone else, including the 4, the 6, and the 3, like C better, which means 7 people like A and only 13 people like C, which means C is the preferred candidate. And then likewise, we'll just have to check B versus C. So B versus C, B is ranked higher in the first column, B is ranked higher in the second column, and B is ranked higher in the last column. So C is only above B in the 6 and the 3. Six and the 3, so that adds up to 9. And then if we know that there's, for instance, 20 total voters and 9 of them like C, that would mean that 11 like the B. And if we go back, I think it'll be the 5, the 4, and the 2. And what we have here, 1 point for A, 1 point for C, and 1 point for B. This would result in a tie. One thing that you should know is that on the final exam, I will not include any ties. This is just a happy little coincidence. There happened to be a tie, but overall, there will be no ties on the final exam. And I will do my best to make sure of that, although mistakes have been known to be made by people named Casey Donovan. So what do you need to know for the final exam? You need to know all 4 methods of ranked choice voting: plurality, plurality with elimination, board account, and a pairwise comparison. You need to be able to read a table in order to carry out those methods. And some of those methods involve a majority. So you should know how to find a majority. There will be no weighted voting system and no fairness criteria on the final exam. So if you have questions, reach out. But otherwise, I'll see you next week.